What is up, Janksters? It's your boy Graham, also known as HamHawks42 on the internet, and today we're looking at a very fun deck that was inspired or, well, forced upon me by my buddy Fabio Vanini, and one day I will confidently and correctly pronounce that name. But Fabio actually introduced me to a combo live on stream that is Lich's Mastery plus Approach of the Second Sun. Now, if you're not familiar with Lich's Mastery, this was a very weird build-around card from Dominaria that not a lot of people played. At least I'm not aware of any other decks that really take advantage of this card. It's kind of like a precursor to 9 lives, if you will. So Lich's Mastery is 3 black, so total mana value is 6 for a legendary enchantment that does have hexproof that says you can't lose the game. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? We can't lose, right? But it says, whenever you gain life, draw that many cards. Hey, I love drawing cards. That's fantastic. But whenever you lose life, for each 1 life you lost, exile a permanent you control or a card from your hand or graveyard. When Lich's Mastery leaves the battlefield, you lose the game. So the idea behind this card is every time you're gaining life, you're gaining resources in the form of card draw. But every time you take damage, you have to sacrifice your resources. Fortunately, it does count the graveyard, so that gives us a lot of wiggle room to work with. And this deck doesn't care about the graveyard, so we can completely purge that sucker once we get into the late game if our opponent is pressuring our life total, and we get a Lich's Mastery down. So that's very, very nice. But the combo, the way that we leverage Lich's Mastery to its best, because it says you can't lose the game, which is great, but it doesn't say any way to win the game. Meanwhile, Approach of the Second Sun is a win condition. It says if this spell was cast from your hand and you've cast another spell named Approach of the Second Sun this game, you win the game. Boom, just that simple. Otherwise, put Approach of the Second Sun into its owner's library, 7th from the top, and you gain 7 life. So if we have a Lich's Mastery down, the way that it works is Approach of the Second Sun resolves, it shuffles back into our library, then we gain 7 life, Lich's Mastery triggers, we draw 7 cards, hey, Approach is back in our hand, how neat is that? And then we discard the 6, we may have to discard the hand size, which is fine, because we can exile stuff from our graveyard for Lich's Mastery, so the 7 life that we gain off Approach of the Second Sun is giving us all the benefit that we need, and it puts Approach right back in our hand. Now, I know what you're saying, like, okay, Graham, that's great. It does give us a win condition, but we do have to wait a turn. We have a lot of ways, because chances are we're not going to have 14 mana lying around to hit Approach of the Second Sun twice in 1 turn. Yeah, the chances of that happening are very, very low. Not impossible in a really long grindy game, but the chances are very slim. And we also don't have that much ramp. We have some, but not that much. But we have ways to delay the game, and that is ultimately where this deck really shines. This is a control list. If you don't like control, I'm sorry, it's what it had to be to pull this combo off. Because this is a late game combo, it requires a 6 and a 7 drop. And you'll also notice we only have 2 of Lich's Mastery and 3 approaches. In the main deck, there is a reason for that as well that we'll get into. But when it comes to delaying the game, if we're trying to slow down an aggro player or bust up our opponent's like mid-range plans, we do have Cleansing Nova. It says destroy all creatures or destroy all artifacts and enchantments. If we're going up against like a sacrifice artifact deck, if we're going up against like Golgari Food, this is a great way to bust up all their artifacts and enchantments, get them off the field. There are also a lot of enchantment-centric decks running around right now. Fun fact, if your opponent plays the 9 life Solemnity Lock, a lot of decks say, oh crap, how can I win? The game is over. Oh no, woe is me. This deck just says, great, I'll rip a Cleansing Nova and just win the game on the spot, which is pretty great because it does get rid of 9 lives because it's a destroy all effect. Pretty handy. So Cleansing Nova is great. Another thing that you may think is you may be wondering, why am I running Cleansing Nova and not Farewell? And to that I say, hey, shut up, I like Cleansing Nova. No, I'm kidding. They're both good cards. Farewell could fit in here as well. The only thing about that is we already have Lich's Mastery and Approach to the Second Sun are already pretty heavy, and I wanted cheaper spells. So Cleansing Nova costing 5, you get a little less flexibility because it can't hit graveyards, it can't hit well, it hits artifacts and enchantments all at once. You can't isolate one or the other. And it can't hit creatures and artifacts and enchantments, or you don't get that flexibility, so that's a little bit of a bummer. One thing to be aware of with Cleansing Nova also, the destroy all artifacts and enchantments mode is off limits to you once you have Lich's Mastery in play, because if you destroy Lich's Mastery, which Cleansing Nova will do if you choose that mode, you just lose the game on the spot. So don't do that, that'd be bad. That said, if you're in the mirror, If you find a mirror match where your opponent's playing Lich's Mastery, rip that Cleansing Nova all day and win the game. It's great. Other ways that we have to slow the game down, we have Settle the Wreckage. This card is absolutely fantastic. It is just all the attacking creatures just become lands. It's wonderful. You just exile a ton of stuff from your opponent and they don't get... I mean, the one thing about Settle the Wreckage is it's a known quantity. People will see this coming. When you have the untapped mana, they will play around it. So that's something to be aware of. There are very few players... If they have lethal, by swinging only one creature at you, they'll probably hold back the rest of their board and just swing that one creature at you, which is a little bit of a bummer. But when all you need is to buy one turn to pull off the combo, that's fine. And you still, Settle the Wreckage will accomplish its goal, which is nice. As far as slowing the game down, we also have Teferi's Protection. If you have 9 mana lying around, 10 mana lying around, which is far easier to pull off than the 14 mana we discussed, you can rip a Portrait of the Second Sun with Lich's Mastery down, then immediately hit a Teferi's Protection. In that situation, you are gone from the game. You're going to take a little breather. None of your stuff can be touched and people can't touch you. And so it's effectively like you're not there. So your opponent takes a whole turn where they're not able to interact with you at all. And then you follow the second turn up with another Approach of the Second Sun. If they have a counter spell, then you got to kind of recalibrate. But if they don't, you're golden. And you just win. It's great. We also have some spot removal in Vanishing Verse and March of Otherworldly Light. These are just good cards. I don't know what else to say. Like, they hit a large variety of permanents, and they exile, which is huge. We also have Authority of the Consuls in here. This is great for slowing down aggro decks. This is a 3 of because it's not great in other decks or against other decks. This is also really good against Is It Phoenix because it says that creatures enter the battlefield, creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. So hasty creatures that are trying to chip in for damage the moment they drop it just doesn't work with Authority of the Consuls. And to make matters worse, you gain 1 life. If Lich's Mastery is down, that means whenever your opponent plays a creature, it comes into play tapped, you gain a life and draw a card. So that's pretty fantastic. Speaking of drawing cards, we have a number of other ways to do that. One of which is Light of Hope. Again, Light of Hope is not generally a card draw spell. This is an enchantment removal, which is nice. The +1/+1 counter on target creature will almost never be relevant. It just doesn't fit what this deck is doing. You'll notice we actually don't have a single creature in the entire thing. We just aren't playing with creatures. We are destroying creatures a lot, but we're just not playing with them. So the +1/+1 counter is the chance of that happening that will only be relevant if our opponent donates a creature to us somehow, which, I mean, there are a lot of ways to do that, but that's not going to happen. Instead, the mode that we're going to use a lot is gain 4 life. By gaining 4 life with Lich's Mastery down, we draw 4 cards and delay our death in a really cool way by giving us access to more resources that we can exile in place of taking damage. So Light of Hope is awesome. It's also modal, so you have the flexibility. You can knock out a pesky enchantment if you absolutely needed to. If there's a Meat Hook Massacre that's just going to town on you, you can just get rid of it, which it's nice. Light of Hope is just good stuff. Yeah, we also have Revitalize. This is another card. It draws a card by itself and you gain 3 life. So this is a good way to kind of give yourself a little bit of a buffer against aggro decks in the early game, which is good. But in the late game, especially once Lich's Mastery down, this says draw 4 cards for 2 at instant speed. I'm down. That's exactly what we want to do. That's very, very good. So Revitalize is just value. It's just 2 mana value. Yeah, I don't know what else to say on that one. It's just good. We do have a little bit of ramp in Key to the Archive. Key to the Archive is great because it ramps us from 4 mana up to 6 mana, which gives us access to that Lich's Mastery. It also drafts us a card from a really cool spellbook that it happens to include one of our combo pieces in Approach of the Second Sun. So that's just good. It's just fantastic. I don't know how else to say it. Key to the Archive is a very valuable card. It does good work. We all know it. We all love it. It's just awesome. Then we have Masterminds Acquisition. This is a 4 of for a reason, and it's part of the reason that we have so few of our combo pieces in the main deck, 2 and 3 respectively. Because Masterminds Acquisition says, search your library for a card, put it in your hand, then shuffle. Okay, so it's Diabolic Tutor. Not a good card, but not bad. It also has put a card you own from outside the game into your hand. So this is a way where we don't have to touch our library at all, and we can wish up something from our wish board. Which, guess what? We have. This is this particular list, as it is presented here and as it is in the description below, is optimized for best of 1 play. If you did want to flesh out the rest of the sideboard for best of 3, please do, and leave a comment below on what cards you added, because I'm very curious to see. But for best of one, we actually have a lot of our key pieces in Vanishing Verse, Teferi's Protection, Settle the Wreckage, Key to the Archive, Cleansing Nova, Lich's Mastery, and Approach with the Second Sun, all in our sideboard, locked and loaded, ready to go. So for 4 mana, we can just magically turn Masterminds Acquisition into any one of these without even touching our library, which is just handy. It's just good stuff. So if we have access to the combo pieces because we've drawn them naturally, we don't need to worry about that. If we don't, we can Masterminds Acquisition on 4, pull up a Lich's Mastery out of our sideboard, and get to work, which is really darn cool. I like that. The other key detail that I want to stress about running this deck, if you have access to the Lich's Mastery or a Masterminds Acquisition, consider, actually, even if you don't, when you are playing this deck, consider holding Light of Hope and Revitalize in the early game. If you do not need the card draw, like if you're missing land drops and you just need to dig deeper into your deck, crack the Revitalize and go. But if you're doing okay, if you're hitting your land drops decently and you're getting some decent pieces, you're able to control the board and your opponent's not pressuring you, hold on to Light of Hope and hold on to Revitalize until you have Lich's Mastery on the field, because they're good cards without the Mastery on the field. They're phenomenal cards once Mastery is available. I mean, 1 mana at instant speed, draw 4 cards. They don't print that for a reason. Like, Ancestral Recall is banned in most formats because it gives you 3 cards at instant speed. This gives you 4. Granted, you need a setup, a 6 mana setup, so it's not super easy to do, but once you're there, it's worth it. It's awesome. So keep that in mind. So that's the deck. I gotta say, I was delighted when we did jam a little bit of this on stream and we had an absolute blast with it. I did a historic vent. I believe we went 5-3 and I was still kind of getting the feel for the deck at the time. So like it could be better. We could tune it up, I'm sure. If you have any recommendations on how to do that, please leave a comment. I'd love to hear it. But I am actually going to record some gameplay as well that we're going to be able to watch to see this thing in action. So please stick around for that. And if you want to see more videos like this, please like, subscribe, do all the things. And it helps, get this in front of more people, and then that also lets me know that you want to see more videos that involve weird, janky combos that maybe you haven't seen before. And I love finding those. So this is a great one. Thank you, Fabio, for putting me onto this. And let's get to the gameplay. Double Authority of the Consuls in the opening hand is very interesting. Interesting enough that I'm gonna keep this despite my best judgment. Hey, that's my move. Opponent, I don't appreciate that. March of Otherworldly Light can hit and jam it, so we can March of Otherworldly Light that Authority of the Consuls. But we don't have any creatures. So Authority of the Consuls against us does straight nothing, which is super rad. I kind of love that. All right, so we got some removal. We could hit Birth of Meletus, but to be honest, at this point, like, the Defender wall is irrelevant. We gain a life, as a matter of fact, from it coming into play, which is nice. Dovin... Dovin's not bad, but we actually can't touch it with any of the pieces that we've got, so, because March of Otherworldly Light can't target Planeswalkers. Mildly unfortunate, but that's fine. Masterminds, I really don't, and Dovin is a multicolor threat. Let's put another Authority down just in case our opponent does stuff. But yeah, I don't like being taxed, Dovin. I don't appreciate that. Not one bit, as a matter of fact. I don't think a Birth of Meletus might actually have a home in this deck. That's actually not bad. You're sure you shock that in? Valkmira? Alright. Shrine is nice. I would shock this in. I mean, we shock it in so we can Vanishing Verse the Valkmira. But why would we? Exactly what we needed. They may have now they are playing mono white, which means they could have Mana Tithe, but it doesn't look like they do, so that's nice. I'm grab Mastery. I'm doing it. Cannot be stopped. Another Authority. Let's go. I do want to get Valkmir off the field. I also want to get Dovin, but I don't have a way to hit Dovin, which is truly unfortunate. Play out another authority just so we gain an obscene amount of life every time they activate Castle Ardenvale. This is kind of silly, but not bad. We still have Vanishing Verse up, even with the Ward 1 tax that Valkmira puts on us. Other authority, sure. Poof. Oh, it's other permanents. Never mind, we're good. We're golden. It's all gravy, baby. Let's do this. All right. So we're in a little bit of a staring contest here. Our opponent's just gonna let us go. All right, okay. Masterminds Acquisition again. Can we get our other combo piece? Ching-ching, it's looking good. Now, that combo piece does have a tax on it because of this freaking guy. So that's kind of annoying. I don't like that. Except for the kind of part. That's like hella annoying. Immortal Sun. At the beginning of your draw step, draw an additional card. Spells cost one less to cast. Creatures you control get +1/+1. Alright. Immortal Sun's good. It's good. Cleansing Nova's, Cleansing Nova beats it, but it's a good card. I have Otherworldly Tyrant. Now, we're going to lose our authority of the Consuls, which is mildly problematic, but like very mildly. I'm actually not worried about it at all. At the end of the day, the Immortal Sun is going to give them way too much value, so that cannot be allowed to stand. It must be destroyed. Destroy it with fire! Alright. We need one more land in order to hit the approach of the second sun, but next turn we can throw the Lich's Mastery, which feels pretty good. That said, if our opponent is sitting on a Farewell or a Planar Cleansing of their own, we just lose, which would suck. But yeah, that would suck significantly. But I think we'll be okay. Yeah, we got 7 cards in our graveyard. They can ping us with little 1/1 tokens all day, and I don't care. Overwhelming Splendor. Enchant player. Enchant. Lose all abilities and base power. 1/1. Channel player can't activate abilities that are mana abilities or loyalty ability. Wait a minute. Creatures a channel player controls lose all abilities and have base power and toughness 1/1. Doesn't matter. Enchanted player can't activate abilities that aren't mana abilities or loyalty abilities. Also doesn't matter. So sure, that is the weakest Overwhelming Splendor I've ever seen. It's just in this situation, it does nothing. So both of us, my opponent and myself, are. Both my opponent and myself are trying to control the board against aggressive players. Here comes the approach. The Lich's Mastery fires, and we draw not only into our original, or not only into the approach that we teed up. I'm gonna let all these go. Not only did we draw into the approach that we teed up, but there was another one in the top 7 cards as well. Rad. Yeah, hit me, opponent. Do it. I dare you. Just a card from our graveyard. Doesn't matter. We don't have anything that can use them. Boom. Pro to the second sun. Let's go. Now, I did make a small mistake there. They may, like I said, they may have had Mana Tithe. I should have thrown the Shattered Sanctum first, so we had 1 mana up. Wasn't punished, though, so we're good. But yeah, that was it. That's what this deck's trying to do. Right there. Alright, we got a 4-lander. Authority of the Consuls is big time against aggressive decks, so we're going to keep this and hope we're going up against mono red. Maybe that's a really dumb strategy, but, well, it's what I'm feeling in the moment. Authority of the Consuls, well, it's not mono red. We got the Selesnya Guildgate. Is this like a Guildgate? Is this the Gates deck? It might, yeah, this is the Gates deck. Alright, they're going to explore, drop another land, another gate, presumably. Maze's End, there it is. Never didn't have it. Alright, so we've got Light of Hope, we also have Vanishing Verse up. So Vanishing Verse is great against the Gatebreaker Ram, which is one potential threat that they may try to mobilize against. Or Guild Summit, we can also just ice that real quick, although... Untap gauge control draw gate. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just Light of Hope that. Pew pew. Make him wonder who runs Light of Hope. I run Light of Hope. Deal with it. Settle the Wreckage is not going to be particularly great here. So much so that I'm considering dumping it to the Key to the Archive. This is two solitaire decks racing is what you're watching here. All right. It's my turn. All right. Yeah, I'm definitely dumping Settle the Wreckage to whatever we pull here. Unless it's like a Doomblade or something. Time Warp, though. I can work with that. I'll take a Time Warp over a Settle all day, every day. Let's go. Our opponent's just hitting lands. They're not doing anything else. I mean, the Guild Summit was a thing, but another circuitous route. Ooh, that's bad. That's mooey bad. All right. This is kind of the worst thing we could have gone up against. Like, cards like Settle the Wreckage and Vanishing Verse just don't have enough targets here. So they're effectively dead draws in our hand. Arboreal Grazer, sure. I mean, we can verse that if we really want to. Let's do the Time Warp again. This is just 5 mana, draw a card, which is fine, frankly. I'll take it. Masterminds Acquisition, never didn't have it. Let's go. Sorry, I'm very excited, as you can see. We're going to go ahead and grab up. Do you want Mastery or Approach? I think we want Approach, because that's ultimately the win con. And hopefully now we draw a Mastery. That would be ideal. If we had a Revitalize or that Light of Hope still in our hands, this would be... Or we were going up against a creature-heavy deck with Authority of the Consuls down. Totally different story. I would have grabbed the Lich's Mastery because that would have drawn us a bunch of cards. But as it stands, Lich's Mastery wasn't going to draw us anything. And, notably, Maze's End says... with if you control 10 or more gates with different names as you activate this, you win the game. So actually, I believe that they're probably going to hit it with this circuitous route. The circuitous routes were money for them here. It says that Maze's End gives you the ability to win the game. Lich's Mastery is worded in a very interesting way where it says you, the owner of Lich's Mastery, cannot lose the game. But it does not say that your opponent cannot win the game. So if they have a card that says you win the game, they win the game. So in this case, Maze's End is going to win them this game. Because even if we had Lich's Mastery out, you would think that, wait, that can't stop you from losing. While it doesn't stop us from losing, it doesn't prevent them from winning, which is why with Lich's Mastery, it says you cannot lose the game. Whereas with cards like Platinum Angel, it says you cannot lose the game. Your opponents cannot win the game. That little your opponents cannot win the game clause is very, very important. And alas, here we are. So this was a bad matchup for us. They did the thing. They did it well. And they did it faster than us. So let's go on to the next game and hopefully we can get a better matchup. This hand's not bad. I don't love having 2 lands. That makes me a little bit nervous, but I say we go with it and see what happens. Let's see. Shambling Ghast. That's Vanishing Versatile. Okay, cool. 3 lands. I'll take it. Light of Hope is decent here. You can do some stuff for us. Not a lot. Ghast coming in for 1. Guess who doesn't care? This guy doesn't care. Light of Hope, sure. Light of Hope's available. Serrated Scorpion. Sure. Groovy, hip, muy bueno. All right, so we have the Vanishing Verse up should something happen, which is nice. Light of Hope can also gain us some life should the need arise, but I think what I really am hoping for here, I'm just going to Village Rise this Serrated Scorpion. All right, fair enough. More to the face. So what I'm really hoping for is to be able to pop the Masterminds Acquisitions on 4 and go get us the Lich's Mastery before we throw that Light of Hope, if we can help it. I'm going to Vanishing Verse that Reaper. I don't want them drawing any more cards. And I don't want them having a 3-power creature on the board. Get it gone. Get it gone. More lands. Excellent. That's exactly what I wanted. How did you know, opponent? Or not opponent, deck shuffler. How did you know? All right, our opponent's shambling, concealing curtains. Sure. I'm going to crack it, and I hope they feel threatened by the Settle the Wreckage. If they take the Masterminds Acquisition, I'm going to be very sad. Should they take the Masterminds Acquisition? Oh yeah, they should. But they may not. They're eyeing the Cleansing Nova. All right. Yeah, they take the Acquisition. That's the correct play. I can't even be mad. And I'm just going to use the Vanishing Verse to ice the curtains right now. All right. Concealed Courtyard is fine. Not amazing, but fine. And at this point, we have Cleansing Nova back and Settle the Wreckage, and they know it. I mean, we don't have Settle the Wreckage right now, but we have the cards, so that they understand that their options are limited here dramatically, and I like that. I like that their options are limited dramatically. So now we got Settle Up, and they see it. You want a ramp, eh? I'm not interested in giving that to your opponent. Now, we can Vanishing Verse the Shambling Gas. They will not get the Dies trigger, which is meaningful. I think I'm going to wait. I'm going to hold off and see if they drop something bigger, because they are in mono black. So if they draw a bigger threat... yeah, no, I'll just keep taking the one. They're trying to pull the Settle out of our hand. I'm not going to give it to them. I can lose one all day. I was just checking my graveyard, because if we are successful in getting a Mastery online... that's going to be very relevant. Shrine. Well, if we get our, if we get any of our combo pieces, we're going to need the land, so. Key. I'll take it. Key a la Archive. Yes! Got him. And there was an Approach of the Second Sun in the spell book there. So we were going to get there. So felt pretty good. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I appreciate it very, very much. If you enjoyed it, please hit that subscribe button. It makes a huge difference. And also leave a comment below if you'd like to see other decks like this that have goofy, weird combos that we can try to pull off. Like if you have a weird combo that you haven't quite figured out the deck for, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to put some energy into it and see if together we can come up with something really cool. So yeah, please leave a comment below, like, subscribe, all that jazz. And again, thank you so much for checking out the video, and thank you for making it to the end. It means the world. Have a great day, and I'll catch you on the next one.